issue I see right off is right here. This rubber flap. That's part of one of the exhaust flaps inside in the Y pipe. And they are bad about that. It blew apart. So see, this one is actually blocking a lot of the exhaust flow. So that was kind of muffling the motor down. All right, so how's everybody doing today? This is Steve with Vast Motorsports. On today's episode, I'm working on my brother Robbie's 2001 Maxim 2100 SC. This is the beautiful boat that I did all the custom interior and system. But anyway, we're not doing that today. I'm going to show you a little video on how to do the exhaust flaps. Now these are the exhaust flaps that are inside the Y pipe at the back of the engine there. First thing we want to do is get access to the motor. Man, I love my interior. This thing turned out so great. Woo! I hate to brag, y'all, but that's my custom interior. As a matter of fact, this boat was my guinea pig about 4 or 5 years ago. It's the first boat I actually done, but Robbie wanted some diamond tuck, and he wanted just a little bit, and I kind of went overboard, but hey, that's what we're about. I like making him happy. He's above the top, the boat's above the top, so it worked out good. All right, so here's our new flapper, and you want to install it with the little hinge bar upwards, so you'll be looking at all these little hole indentions instead of the flatter side. It's going to be in there like this, and it can flap. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to break all these clamps loose, and I'm going to use my little flexible joint here. It just makes it easier. You can use whatever you got handy, but for me it makes it easy. Put it on the gun and zip them loose. So we're going to break these loose so you can remove this boot, or slide it back at least onto the elbow. And then we got this lower boot with these clamps. Need to undo all 4 of these, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so I removed all my clamps, and like I said, this is kind of tight quarters in here. That's why I used a flexible shaft. You might be in a cabin cruiser or something where you're down in there with the motor. Heck, even my old Stingray has plenty of room when you go under the sun deck pad there, and it's got plenty of room, but this boat does not, so we're using a flexible shaft. Now I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to pry under this and open this up, and call on my best friend when I'm working on boats, which is WD-40. I'm going to give it a good spray inside there, squirt it real good, let it run all the way down, and take the screwdriver and break that seal. Okay, so I'm going to just pry under here, and you can hear it cracking a little and pop, and that's the seal. That's just a corrosion and stuff that forms over time. We'll start up at the very top here again, get it open, take some WD, spray it on in, doesn't matter how much, don't be scared, spray it in there good and liberally. Make sure you get it to run all the way around and break that seal. Try to take the screwdriver and go all the way around. Try to be careful, don't pop a hole deliberately in the boot, of course. Now come back here to the back section. We're going to stick it in there. Don't let it slip and jab yourself, kill yourself. We're going to take, now I happen to have the flexible shaft, and like I said, some boats you got a lot more room than this to work with, so you can use whatever you got. I'm just using what makes it easy for me on this boat. Take that screwdriver, run it all the way around. Let's get that seal broke top to bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to take and try to slide this boot. Usually, if I can get it to at least spin or something. There we go, got it spinning. Now I know it's broke free. Now we're going to slide it back onto the elbow. I don't want to undo the riser itself. Some people will undo the riser. I don't have the gaskets here at the shop right now. and could be opening a can of worms you just don't want to open up anyway. So for right now, just going to try to pry it back. There we go. So I've gotten it all the way back. You can see the edge of the actual elbow here. Now I got to go down here to the bottom one and do the same thing. Take the screwdriver, break the top, spray some WD, go to the bottom. It's harder to get the WD in, but it'll work with that flexible shaft. And what we're going to do with that boot is slide it downward onto the Y pipe, exactly like I did this one. And then I'll be able to just take this whole elbow and get it right out of the way. Okay, so actually, instead of sliding the boot all the way down like I normally do, I left it on the riser and I was able to take the screwdriver and just pry the bottom up far enough to slip this whole elbow out of the way. Now, as you can see, the elbow does have these little tabs sticking out, so the boot will only go up the elbow so far, but the Y pipe down here doesn't have anything, so you can make it slide down, especially with some WD on it. So I'm just going to move the elbow out of the way, and now we can see the valve there, and half of it's gone. It was down in the actual exhaust port of the outdrive. So I'm going to take and pop this out right here. A little rubber plug on the side of it that holds it into place. And I did drop that into the bottom of the boat. You don't necessarily want to do that because it could try to... Oh, and of course, now I dropped the whole thing down in there, so that's not cool. I'm going to have to go get my magnet and see if I can fish it out. Yeah, I don't know how good that's going to work. Didn't mean to drop it. Alright, so like I was saying, it's not the kind of stuff you want to do, but I was holding the phone with one hand, trying to make a video. That's what I get for making videos for y'all. So I hope you appreciate it. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding about that. But luckily it was down in the bottom there where I could take the light and see it. So I took my long magnet tool, and I figured this was probably stainless, so it didn't actually stick to it, but I was able just to kind of hook it and slide it all the way up and grabbed it out. So we're good to go there. So now I'm going to take my new one and take these little pieces off the end here, little stoppers. And what we're going to do is squeeze this and stick it down in here. Very carefully, I hope. I'm going to get it down to where I can take this rubber stopper and squeeze it in here, back onto the shaft, and hold it into place like so. Okay, now I'm going to do it on the other side here. See, it's cut a certain oblong shape, and the Y pipe has the same shape in it. So you get it lined up, push it on, and that is that. That's the new flapper installed. Now when you start it up and the exhaust and water goes out like this, and when it cuts off, they shut off any water, even your water up here on the top of the riser right here. You know, there's water running out, all this, and exhaust in the middle. So if the engine burps or something, when you cut it off, you don't want it to suck any water back into here and it go down into the cylinders and sit on the valves or on top of the cylinder walls, because that can create rust. So now the way I pushed these little side pieces in, when we slide that boot back down and put the clamps on it, that's actually what holds this in place. They, excuse me, can't come out. All right, so down here is the Y, and up here is the upper, the riser. We're going to try to fish this elbow back into place. Let's see if I can do this. What I need to do is get the upper section on first, like this. You got to slide it over this part of the manifold, and then Let's see if I can get the boot. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it like that. I'm going to pull this boot off. And I'm going to stick it on the Y pipe down here. Slide it all the way down like that, flush. Now I can take my elbow, fish it in here onto the manifold like that on the riser, and then I've got my boot down here. I can just slide back up. You need both hands. Try to guide it onto the elbow. Come on now. It's where all that WD comes into play. All right, there we go. Okay, so the bottom one's in place. And give me a little spray up top here. Slide this one on. There we go. Let the elbow get into a rested position. You don't want it tight up against inside against the riser, because you could hear some knocking type sounds, beating and banging as it's vibrating. Right now it's just floating in a nice free spot. So now all we're going to do is go ahead and stick all these clamps back on, top and bottom, and make sure they're nice and tight. Okay, so just wrap your clamp around, get it restarted here in the end. I've got all 4 of them on. Take my little gun here. Just position the clamp where you think is the best, easiest access. Make sure you take your fingers and hold it in the groove of the actual boot in a couple spots while you're tightening, so the clamp doesn't get sideways or anything. Now I like to do my 2 inner ones first and then the outside, just so it works any bubble out of it. You don't want to have any leaks here. I tell you, I put one together one time with just 1 clamp because that's all I had or something, and when I started it to check everything, sure enough, it had a little leak dribbling out, so I had to put another clamp on. So definitely go with all 4 clamps. All right, so she's all squared away. That's the top and the bottom on the clamps, nice and tight. And so that's the job. That is how you replace your exhaust flappers on the Mercruiser. This happens to be a 5.0 V8. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It could be a 350, it could be a 383, it could be a big block or 6.2. All going to be the same on the Mercruiser setups. So that is how you do it, and that's how you do it the easy way. You don't have to replace or take your riser off and clean all that and replace the gaskets, unless if you've seen a leak or something here anyway, then you might want to address that if you see like a rust stain. But this one's nice and clean. I think we're all right there, so we're not going to mess with it. It's kind of one of them old things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. So anyway, if you like what you've seen and maybe you learned a little something from me today, how about give me a thumbs up? And if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. That way you can hit that little bell notification. You'll be able to keep track of all the new upcoming videos when I place them on, me and Jasper. And you might even go through some of the old videos and find something you like or interested in. We're not always just working on something, you know, the same old stuff here. I get tired of that. My mind and my attention span just don't let me stay on one thing too long. So I'm always doing something different. It could be cars, trucks, boats, bikes, golf carts, lawnmowers. I don't care. If it's got a motor, it's something that turns me on. So anyway, y'all, could even be out, who knows, on the lake, one of the beautiful South Carolina lakes, or I could be out on the boat down the ICW in Florida, you know, skipping islands, jumping islands, checking out beaches, me and Jasper, and sometimes the wife too. So anyway, y'all have a blessed day. Thanks for watching Vast Motorsports.